Orange traffic, Cessna 172 Echo Delta Delta's lined up. About to roll runway 11, departure to the east. Orange traffic.
If you're flying near or at a non-towered aerodrome, it's vital you use your radio.
Delta is turning final, runway 35.
ATSB research has shown traffic alerts improve your search effectiveness by a factor of 8. Therefore, you're less likely to have a near miss or a collision if you use your radio. And that's why CASA's mandated the carriage and use of radios at all certified, registered and military aerodromes. It's about improving your safety. So how would you know if an aerodrome is certified? You look in your current URSA and always check NOTAMs. It's not just about carrying, but more how you use your radio, combined with a good scanning technique. This is known as alerted see and avoid. So to fully understand the implications of the changes, you need to read CAPS 166 1 and 2, as they're a dependable guide to operating under the new rules at non-towered aerodromes. To get a better idea of the procedures, we'll follow a flight from Orange to Ballina. This'll give you exposure to various traffic mixes and densities, plus an understanding of where and when to look and use your radio. Good airmanship begins on the ground. So once you've thoroughly prepared, think a little outside the cockpit by thinking of how you'd manage all the what-ifs. Pre-visualize the entire flight, right through to a successful landing. When you've completed your daily inspection, clean your windscreen, as bugs and dirt create focal traps, inhibiting your eyes to focus properly on objects beyond the windscreen. You have to be able to see to avoid. Once you're ready to depart, listen to the radio for other traffic inbound and in the circuit.
Orange traffic, Cessna 172 Echo Delta Delta is holding, runway 11.
Orange traffic, Jabiru 4782, turning final on runway 11.
Stop at all holding points. Scan the runway and sky for traffic. Maintain a listening watch.
Orange traffic, Cessna 172 Echo Delta Delta.
If all's clear, announce your intentions.
Departure to the east.
Allow time for pilots to respond. Then turn on your transponder to mode C, squawking altitude. This lets aircraft fitted with Traffic Collision Avoidance Systems, TCAS, to see you. Turn on navigation and landing lights. If there's been no response to your radio call, enter the active runway, but keep a good lookout. At Orange, when you're using runway 11, you can't see the other thresholds, so it's wise to make a rolling call.
172 Echo Delta Delta's lined up and about to roll runway 11 for a departure to the
When
east.
operating in the vicinity of non-towered aerodromes, it's expected all pilots will make the minimum positional broadcasts listed in CAP 1661. Use standard phraseology and minimal chat.
Orange traffic, Cessna 172 Echo Delta Delta's departing crosswind, runway 11 for the east. Orange traffic.
And when necessary, use good judgment to make additional calls to improve situational awareness and safety.
There is a variety of traffic operating in non-towered aerodromes. You've got trikes, helicopters, light aircraft through to jets. Really think about what you're going to say in your call, and also think about when you're going to make your call. It's inappropriate to make an inbound call when there's traffic obviously busy in the circuit and someone's making a rolling call and someone else is on final. Use sound airmanship when operating in the circuit area. Make sure your radio calls are clear and precise.
The mid downwind, runway 24, full stop.
You want other aircraft to know exactly where you are. And avoid entering conversation with one aircraft only and broadcast to everyone in the area.
After takeoff, you should turn onto crosswind, no less than 500 feet above the aerodrome. If there's no other aircraft in the circuit, there's no need to make a call, but keep a good lookout. Most circuits are to the left, unless specified otherwise in URSA or by NOTAM. Turning onto downwind, you should be 1,000 feet above the aerodrome.
Orange traffic, Cessna 172 Echo Delta Delta.
Circuit heights are dependent on an aircraft's performance. So, to maintain good separation, it's recommended that turboprops and jets fly a wider circuit at an altitude of 1,500 feet. Medium performance aircraft like a Cessna 172 at 1,000 feet. And low performance aircraft like trikes and ultralights fly a closer circuit at 500 feet. When departing from the circuit, you should extend one of the standard circuit legs. In this instance, the pilot will extend the crosswind leg until they're well outside the circuit area, before turning contra to the circuit direction. Again, it's critical to keep a good lookout for inbound aircraft that may be overflying at 2,000 feet or higher. When flying near a non-towered aerodrome, tune in to the correct frequency and listen for radio broadcasts.
On the downwind leg for runway 11 at high.
Be aware of your position and respond to calls if there's any chance of a conflict, and be at a height that's not adverse to the aerodrome's operations. When you're at least 10 nautical miles from your destination, listen to the circuit broadcasts and make an inbound call.
Ballina traffic, Cessna 172, Echo Delta Delta is approximately 10 miles to the south, inbound Ballina traffic.
Determine from the broadcasts how you'll join the circuit. If you're unfamiliar, overfly the aerodrome at least 500 feet above the circuit altitude and descend on the non-active or dead side so as to join on the crosswind leg at your circuit height. If you're flying a low-performance aircraft, it's recommended you overfly midfield at 500 feet to minimize the risk of conflict. When you're aware of the wind and circuit direction, you may join downwind at a 45-degree angle or on an extended downwind leg on the active side. It's permissible to join on base or make a straight-in approach, but it's not recommended. But if you've determined there's no other aircraft in the circuit and you consider it safe, it may be an option. You have to use your airmanship to realize what's appropriate, where and when. If you do, you must know which runway's active, the wind direction and speed, and give way to all other circuit traffic. For a straight-in approach, you must be established by 3 miles. Okay, back to our pilot who's about to join the circuit at Ballina.
Ballina traffic, Cessna 172, Echo Delta Delta is joining crosswind at runway 24, Ballina traffic.
At aerodromes like Ballina, you need to be mindful of regular public transport flights. When they're making base or straight-in approaches, they cover a lot of ground quickly.
We make our first inbound call to a non-towered aerodrome at 25 nautical miles if all other traffic can respond to us with a clear, concise radio call. So therefore we know what other traffic is in the CTAF area and we can actually plan our approach into the CTAF. From that point we will actually be in the circuit area in approximately 5 minutes. We do prefer straight-in approaches because it does help with our stabilised approach criteria. We do encourage all traffic in the CTAF area to squawk 1200 and have your transponder on out, and we will be able to detect you on our traffic collision avoidance system. With the larger aircraft, manoeuvring is a more difficult procedure. So if you're manoeuvring a Saab compared to a Warrior, now our circling area on a Saab is 4.2 nautical miles. So obviously it's just a greater distance that we have to actually manoeuvre, and in a lighter aircraft they've obviously got a tighter turn radius. So therefore they can achieve their stabilised approach criteria a lot easier than what we can. Likewise, as you keep going up a scale, like a 747 would require even greater distance than that to achieve their stabilised approach criteria. It's just that, I suppose, the physical inertia of the aircraft takes a while for it to stabilise.
Also be aware airlines operate jets into non-towered aerodromes, making straight-in approaches with a nose-up, tail-down attitude. This can make it difficult for these pilots to see smaller aircraft. So it's imperative you use your radio and have your transponder on, squawking 1200.
In the 737, we make our first call heading into, say, somewhere like Karratha at about 30 miles. And so that's significantly earlier than the mandatory requirement, which is 10 miles. But we're moving quite quickly, below 10,000 feet, max speed 250 knots, indicator below 10,000. And in the 737 we slowed to about 210 knots with 15 miles to run. So from our first call to entering the circuit, if we're entering the circuit as against an instrument approach, it's probably 5 or 6 minutes, so we get there quite quickly. Obviously it's really important that we get a really good situational awareness on where those other aircraft are. Visibility is a bit restricted because of what we call the cockpit cut-off angle. If, for example, we are on a downwind, we might have the nose anywhere as high as 8 degrees nose up, and it restricts our forward view. So, for example, if there's a helicopter just in front of us, a little bit lower, then we won't see it. We can't see it. We need to be looking further out. The biggest challenge for us, I think, is separation. We're used to flying in controlled airspace most of our time, and we still have to look outside, and we still have to see and avoid and all of those things. So it's really important wherever we're flying, but particularly when we're flying into a non-controlled airfield, we have these extra challenges: separation, identifying where that aeroplane is. So we really want to hear where that aeroplane is. That'll give us half a chance of finding them. If everybody's using their transponder and their radio, we all have 8 times the chance of spotting another aeroplane than we do if those other aeroplanes out there are not using their transponder or their radio. That makes it quite challenging.
Another thing to consider is when a VFR pilot hears an IFR pilot making an instrument approach. They should make their aircraft known to the IFR pilot. It'd be a nightmare if an aircraft burst through cloud to be confronted by an unknown aircraft. Plus, IFR pilots can greatly help their safety by reporting their position in plain English.
IFR Duchess, Foxtrot Echo Delta is overhead the field, tracking to the north approximately 7 nautical miles, on descent to 4,600.
And what happens if your radio fails? Well, you can still land at a non-towered aerodrome, but squawk 7600 with your transponder and maintain a diligent lookout.
Echo Delta Delta is joining downwind, runway 35, right-hand circuit, transmitting blind. That is traffic.
Keep making radio calls ending with transmitting blind. Other pilots may still be able to hear you. It's all about common sense and how to build a better code of conduct. So let's recap. Firstly, read the CASA CAPS 166, 1 and 2 to get a more in-depth knowledge how to operate at a non-towered aerodrome. Remember, you must carry and use a radio at all certified, registered, military and NOTAM designated aerodromes. Alerted see and avoid improves your search effectiveness or the ability to see other traffic by a factor of 8. And if everyone applies the same principles, there'll be safer skies for all. Get a copy of Lookout, a DVD produced by CASA on situational awareness. Always apply the good airmanship principle. Be heard, be seen, be safe. And finally, a caveman wouldn't stumble into a cave without a club, nor should a pilot fly without a radio.